So recently I was driving around Fort Collins with some clients out of Oregon, and they spoke to me about how a friend of theirs used to live here or was around this area 10 to 15 years ago and was suggesting to them that they were moving to this area with a whole bunch of cows and horses and this really rural area. And possibly that was a little true 10 to 15 years ago. Definitely 20 to 25 years ago, this area was much more of a farming community and horses and cows all over the place. But I can tell you that the area that we are going to talk about today is most definitely pretty rural. So today we are talking about living in Wellington, Colorado. And with me, I've got my assistant and friend, Izzy.
Hello.
And she will be kind of talking to you guys specifically about what it is like living in Wellington because she just bought a house in Wellington. So what's up, everybody? My name is Patrick Soukup with Soukup Real Estate here in Fort Collins, Colorado. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing if what you're looking at learning is everything Northern Colorado. Fort Collins, Wellington, eating, sleeping, playing, whatever. We've got your back when it comes to everything Northern Colorado. So if you're looking at buying, selling, or investing, definitely feel free to give us a call, text, or email. But without any further delay, let's jump into today's video about living in Wellington, Colorado. All right, so Izzy,
Yes.
You just bought a house in Wellington, Colorado. Mm-hmm. Tell us, what was that experience like, and kind of give us some statistics and like some specs on the house.
Okay. Well, it was honestly, it was a super fun process. It was my first real estate deal, so it was stressful but exciting. And the house was put on the market for $300,000. I offered $325,000 with an escalation, so I ended up paying $340,000. And it's, I would say, just under 1,000 square feet, has a big lot, big garage. You can fit like probably 3 cars in there, which is awesome. And yeah, I mean, the process was honestly, it was super simple. The house came on the market on my birthday. Patrick sent it to me actually, and I was like, oh my gosh, I think this is the one. So I went and looked at it, and I put the offer in. I was like actually the last one on Sunday to put it in, and then I got a call on Monday. So
the Wellington market is pretty hot too.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you know how many offers that they received on that house was?
I think it was 5 or 6.
5 or 6.
Yeah. So, and they were the one that the agent like sent me the next highest offer, and it was $340,000. So that's why I went up to that. But yeah, that was a lot of offers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, were you specifically looking to Wellington, or were you looking all over the place? Was it more an affordability thing that you were looking for? Space, a single family, or what kind of even began your curiosity to looking at Wellington?
Yeah. Well, I was looking Fort Collins, Greeley, Wellington. My dream was Wellington, though. Me and my boyfriend have our horses up in Wellington, and so instead of a 20-minute drive from Fort Collins, it'd be like a 5-minute drive, which is a dream. So I was looking in Wellington, but as Patrick said, the inventory was super low. So I was looking in Greeley because the prices were a lot cheaper than they are up here. I was looking in Fort Collins, but they were going to be more townhomes in my budget, and I was looking for a single family because I really wanted to get a dog. So Wellington checked all the boxes. It's really close to northern Fort Collins, which is where our office is, and then super close to my horses, and super like 3 minutes from the highway, so I can get here super quickly. Patrick lives on the south end of Fort Collins, closer to Loveland. So yeah, checked off every box, and luckily Wellington came up, and I luckily was able to get it. So
how long have you owned so far?
Since August.
And then what do you think thus far about living there?
I love it. Now when I come, like even just driving here today, 15 minutes of the drive was through Fort Collins traffic, and I was like, oh my gosh, we don't have this in Wellington. So I'm now like becoming like that, and it's just like so small town, like the people in the post office know who you are. I mean, not that you don't get that here, but it's just like way smaller. We have 1 post office, a third coffee shops going in, 3 petrol stations, 1 grocery store. So
petrol. So
Gas
if you guys
stations.
don't know, she had her cultural background is London and
Turkish.
So she says some funny things like water.
Water.
And garage.
Yeah.
But no, so Wellington's definitely a lot smaller. Is it something that you could see yourself getting involved more and more with the community because of those close ties with the postman or postwoman and the barista, people at the restaurants and grocery, that you might get a little bit more involved? Or what do you think?
I think so. Because the community is small, yes, it makes it really easy. But I mean, like, wherever I go, I want to have, like, I'm a homebody. I like the community. So even when I lived in Fort Collins, I had my family, my regulars, the places I went to all the time. So, but in Wellington, it's a lot easier to do that because it's so much smaller. And I do some activities already in Wellington, so, like, I kind of feel a part of the community. And I think, yeah, it'll probably keep happening.
For sure. Now, Wellington is definitely growing quite a bit. Now, I know that they are kind of stalled out from what I've heard, at least a lot of the builders, just because they're trying to figure out the water situation. Yeah. And I know with you owning, that is one of the issues that you're kind of coming up with, is that the water bills are about 3 times what the normal rates would be, just because of the lack of or scarcity of water.
Yeah. So it sounds like they didn't plan how many houses to build versus the water treatment plant. So they're charging us triple because they can't keep up with it. So the base rate alone is, I think, $69. That's your base water charge no matter how much you use. So my bills are, like, probably between $100 and $150.
Okay.
So it's not, like, terrible, but I know a lot of people in Wellington are so mad about it. So mad about it. So,
sure.
Yeah.
Well, all of a sudden your bill just triples. I
Yeah.
mean, we're talking about cost of living increases, inflation, things of that nature. And if something that you thought would have maybe had a 6 to 8% increase has a 300% increase, it could definitely impact your pocketbook.
Yeah.
So now with Wellington, do you notice the construction? Is it annoyance? Is it just part of life? Or is it more on the outskirts? Do you see it kind of continuing? What are your thoughts on the new construction in Wellington?
It's on the outskirts for sure. So if you look at a map, Fort Collins and Wellington kind of blend together on the west side. So a lot of it's happening where Fort Collins ends and Wellington begins on the west side. And I'm luckily in town, so I don't really hear any of it. We do have a new human being going up, like 2-3 blocks away. So, but I can't even hear that. So honestly, the traffic's really, it's a sleepy town. Like, the traffic's really not too bad with the construction. But as you're driving in, like on Highway 1, you see it. But
yeah,
it doesn't really cause any.
Gotcha. Well, and the median price in Wellington is $425,000 for a single-family detached house. As of the end of October, in Fort Collins, it's $525,000. So it's about a 20% discount to move and live in Wellington and buy in Wellington. Now, there are definitely houses that will go for more. The price per square foot, a lot of it's new construction, so you'll be looking at kind of a premium per square foot. But the actual median price in Wellington was $425,000. Now, what would be some of the things? Izzy went to CSU. She graduated from CSU and then has since started working with me for the last 3 years and lived in Fort Collins throughout her time at CSU and then just recently moved to Wellington. Now, what are some of the things that you like more about living in Fort Collins versus living in Wellington?
What I like more about Fort Collins is, that's where a lot of the activity is, so way more restaurants. In Wellington, you're not going to find a lot of gluten-free, dairy-free options, but in Fort Collins, you're going to have, there's so many restaurants. So that's probably the thing I miss about Fort Collins. And then you just have more to do in Fort Collins. Because of our horses in Wellington, we have a lot more to do, but, like, for the average person, Fort Collins is going to have a lot more. And just more of, like, a buzzing, like, downtown life, old town. There's so many people and so much going on, and you're not going to find that in Wellington right now anyway.
And it sounds like you had a little bit of traffic on your way here today, and so that's definitely something that you probably would dislike more about Fort Collins than Wellington. Yeah,
like it took, because I top of Fort Collins into Wellington, and then Patrick's way south, Fort Collins, and it said, my map said 23 minutes. It took me 30, and 15 of that was just coming into Fort Collins, which it is. Wellington's not as deep. I live 3 minutes from the highway. So I can hear it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really anything bad, but coming here, you go in a lot deeper, and there's so many people.
Now, do you take the interstate when you're coming here, or do you take 287 College?
If I'm coming south Fort Collins, definitely I-25. But if I'm going like into North Fort Collins, then Highway 1, and you kind of come.
Gotcha.
So which is 287.
Gotcha. And do you have any issues with the road construction on I-25 right now, or is that a little bit further south of?
That's further south.
Okay,
yes.
so you really don't have too much I-25 construction issues.
Mm.
Now, one thing you probably will have to at least pay attention to is there are times that they will shut down I-25 going north
Yes.
to the border of Wyoming because of the winds, and during the winter times there are literally times they will shut it down. I don't think they really shut it down at Wellington going south to Fort Collins, but you definitely will see a little bit more winds and gusts. Is that something that you've noticed?
Oh yeah, like the weather in Wellington is more like Cheyenne, Wyoming. It's so much different from, and I've had someone explain it to me, it's to do with like the way it kind of comes up and then hits Denver harder, which is why Fort Collins kind of avoids some of it. But Wellington is way windier. The east side is way worse than the west. Luckily, I'm on the west. But the east is where our horses are at. So like in August, they got hit by like a little like hurricane thing. But then on the east or on the west side, it didn't happen. So Wellington's weird, so much wind, but you know, it's worth it.
So if you were talking to somebody that, let's just say, was coming in from out of state, wherever that could be, and they were looking in Fort Collins, but wanted to expand their horizon of options, what would draw them to Wellington? Would it be the affordability? Would it be the smaller populace as far as how many people are there? What would it be that you would recommend Wellington? Like if you were talking to that person, why would you recommend Wellington?
I'd probably recommend it for people who are looking for more space instead of, in Fort Collins you do have bigger lots, but they're harder to come by. And so if you're looking for a larger lot, more room, if you want to farm, that's one reason I'd push you to Wellington. But then of the reasons you just said, probably because of the population. We get to enjoy everything about Fort Collins. We're so close to Fort Collins, but we get to kind of have a little oasis that's like 10 minutes away and way quieter.
So you would say it's about a 10-minute drive into Old Town?
Yeah.
That's not too bad. Maybe 15?
12, 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
My mom, she lives north on Highway 1, and it's about, it's from my house to there, it's usually about 20, 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is, going through basically Prospect through Vine on 287. Just that area right there is going to be a 5 to 10 minute little stint.
She's in that's technically Fort Collins though, right?
Right. Yes, she's Fort Collins, but school district wise, they're Wellington. Okay. Now, have you seen the construction of the
new high school?
Right, it's like a middle high school, right?
I think so.
I think it's a middle high school, and that's going to be that was a big deal for Wellington. So Wellington is in the Poudre School District. Actually, the Poudre School District goes all the way north to the Wyoming border.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it goes all the way north to the Wyoming border. So if you are in Wellington, you would be there was a middle school there and elementary, but there was never a high school. And so you would be going to Poudre High School if you were in the Wellington School District. Now, there's also the Timnath Middle and High School, so that's actually out there pretty north as well. So there'll be some redistricting as far as that goes. But have you kind of heard any buzz? Are people excited about it?
I haven't really heard. I'm not friends with a lot of parents, so no, I haven't heard a whole lot. I see it. It's growing very quickly, and it looks really cool. I know a girl who's excited to go, but that's really, that's really it.
All right, it'll be definitely a big deal for Wellington and folks that go to school in Wellington and that north side. It'll make a big difference to those individuals out in North Fort Collins. So, I think, really Wellington is this community that's pretty small. It used to be, that was the big drive for us when we were in middle school, when we were competing in basketball and football. It was like, oh man, we gotta hop on the bus and go to Wellington. Our 15 minute drive. This is our big travel trip of the year, and it was just this small, tiny little town. And now you drive through it, and there's grocery, restaurants, human being, and there's definitely a lot of different options. I liken it to a community that my family's actually from. They're in California, my in-laws. And they're in the small little town Rosamond, and then there's a town called Lancaster, just about 15 minutes to the south of it. And you can get everything that you need done in Wellington. Yeah. You can grocery shop, you can go out to eat, You can get your coffee, your gas. If you work from home, I guess that would be a really quick, good question is how is the internet out there?
Oh, it's great. It's called TDS, which I'd never heard of until I moved out here, but it's awesome. Works great. I'm the only one that works from home, so, but still, even with all of us there, it's really not bad. And about the doing all your trips in one, like the other day I went to the post office and the gas station and the grocery store and the UPS, and I think I went to a restaurant and picked something up at a coffee shop all in 30 minutes. Like, it's like you can walk to everything, and it's just like, it's so cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
I mean, and that's really nice. And then if you wanted to have a night out on the town, or if you really needed to go into Fort Collins or like a Costco or whatever, it's right there. So especially with how this world's shifting to a work from home place, Wellington could be a good option for a lot of different people who are open to Fort Collins in northern Colorado and are willing to make that small commute, but want a little bit more bang for their buck possibly.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, cool. Well, Izzy, appreciate you coming in today and talking to us about living in Wellington, Colorado. I was getting a little pressure from some of my friends to do a video on Wellington, Colorado, so this was an opportunity. And really enjoyed talking with you. And if anyone has any questions about Wellington, Colorado, well, Izzy is my full-time assistant, so you could either ask me or you could ask direct to her, and she might be a great option for you. So thanks.
Thanks for having me.